Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Ali AI. Start your free trial now.
Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumors that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Thank you. It's true. It's not really a midlife crisis. I'm 60 next month. And looking at that, I look bloody old compared to you lot. And the thing about being old is it's actually great. Being old is great. One thing that you get being old is the perspective of time. I've been doing search engine optimization for 25 years. And I was doing content for 10 years before that. So 35 years of this stuff. And the content that we did was murder mystery evenings. You get the outfit, it's coming together. So I did murder mystery evenings for 10 years before the internet came along. It didn't always go according to plan, I'll be honest with you. For example, I did it coming out of university, and being 18-year-old or 22-year-old or whatever I was, and writing murder mystery plots, I didn't realize that Linda Lovelace, one of my main characters, was actually a 1970s porn star in America. So every time the Americans came along, didn't quite go well, and I didn't know why. Or, for example, the time that I did a murder mystery right next door at the Grand for American Express, 200 people in mafia outfits came along for a murder mystery. And they came along for a murder mystery 24 hours before the Conservative Party conference. So I turn up with a blank firing gun just after they'd rebuilt the Grand after the bombings in the 70s. And I said to the police, I said, I've got a blank firing gun here and 200 people turning up in mafia outfits. They said, we don't care about the guns, but tell the mafia people to not bring guns because we won't be able to tell the snipers on the pontoons in the bay. So, few issues. Anyway, 35 years. And what I've learned in 35 years in the industry or thereabouts of the industry is that keyword planning tools suck. They are not helping us and have not helped me very much along the way. There's two fundamental problems. There's a lot of fundamental problems, I think, with most of the content planning tools out there. So content planning tools, if you use sort of computers, SaaS products, whatever, the problem is that they tend to be all about the keyword volumes. How many people typed in this keyword phrase here? All about that, and that's the way that they kind of come out with decisions for you. They come out with variations of exactly the same phrase. If you notice that, you got, a phrase, team building games, and then it's got team building game, and then team building, and then, all the same sorts of things. Or you get words and suggestions that you would never use in your normal parlance, like parlance. Or irrelevant synonyms, or just stuff that your business doesn't do. And it's because the keyword suggestion tools are coming out of this with this volume-based approach to keyword planning and content planning. So it doesn't, and it doesn't really matter whether you then throw away the tools and then get all your people in a room and say, what are we going to talk about next? What are we going to be blogging about next? Because then you have a different set of problems coming in. You have human bias. Your team actually doesn't pay attention to what your customers are doing at all and just thinks about what you think you should be talking about without understanding that you are part of an ecosystem. And so you tend to have human bias, and you tend to just think about things from your own perspective, not necessarily your customer's perspective. So you might get around that with a tool like lateral thinking. Edward de Bono, one of my fans, I was a fan of his when I was a kid. And so lateral thinking is the idea of, right, we don't know what to talk about next, so let's think about an orange, and then let's get a whole load of ideas that involve the word orange or something like that to just try and get you to move on. The problem with that is that in search, The user is trying to refine and get to a single point of truth. What they're not trying to do is suddenly jump off on another tangent, which we all do as OCD people in the SEO industry every 2 minutes, and we can't get anything done. So we could then try and do something else, another David DeBono trick, which is mind maps, and that seems like a really good idea of giving you lots and lots of varied ideas, but in truth, mind maps are just very linear, actually, and the things that you come out with tend to give you very dry, linear sites, like this kind of design, which is fine, but it doesn't really help with my content planning and my topic modeling idea, which is what I'm here to talk about. The damage at a macro level for the Googles of this world are big, because what is happening as a result of all this content planning and this keyword suggestion tools and all these ideas is that we're coming out with a web of duplicated, uninspiring and repetitive content. I think it's probably Google's biggest problem after their lawsuits, but it doesn't really matter that they've got problems at the macro level, because we also have problems at the micro level. For ourselves, for our own websites, we have problems because we don't know what we really wanted to know with our topic planning, is when do we need a new page for a concept? Or when does a topic need multiple pages? Or when do we delete a page because it's not relevant to our business, not relevant to our users, not relevant to us, not doing anybody any good at all? So it doesn't matter whether you look from a macro perspective or a micro perspective, there are issues with the content planning ideas. And so over the years, people have tried to model ideas into topics. And there's a lot of things out there, LDA, LSI, Ngrams, that started to group things into ideas. And those particular ideas, you may have heard of some of those. I'm not going to go into them because it's very dry. But they are keyword focused, not topic focused. So other things came out, TF, IDF, and topical page rank, which Google doesn't talk about very much. But they look at topics. But it's interesting that topics, according to this paper here, is something that's really not well defined in modeling. So this particular paper here came out in 2019, so it's a good 5 years old now, and it was a meta-study of 64 articles that were talking about topic modeling in marketing. So I'm guaranteeing that most of you had never heard of topic modeling before today, but there's 64 papers at least on topic modeling in marketing out there. And the one thing that this meta-study did was it said, none of them can agree on what a topic is. And that's a problem if you're trying to start modeling concepts and marketing around topics. So dry slides, still black and white, but we're going away from the metaphysical to some proper ideas here. So I need to talk to you about entities for a second. Now, I wrote a book on it, so, it's only that thick because I'm not very bright. And so we used to write things in keywords, but think about something like the Eiffel Tower, right? The Eiffel Tower could be described as the Eiffel Tower, La Tour Eiffel, or the big metal building in Paris. It all means the same thing, right? Doesn't matter what language you use, doesn't matter how you describe it. If you're talking about the Eiffel Tower, there's only one, apart from the one in Las Vegas, which doesn't count. So the topic is the Eiffel Tower, but how do you define that? Well, you choose a database that you can all agree on. So I'm going with Wikipedia for my example. Wikipedia, there is only one article for the Eiffel Tower. Well, one in English. There'll be one in French as well, I'm sure. And so now we can say, right, I've got a database of concepts that are defined. And they're not defined by me, they're defined by a third party or a group of other people. Because if I define my own entities, then you can guarantee that Dixon Jones is going to be the first entry in my entity book because I'm an SEO and I like to break things. You need a third party to tell you what an entity is. And then, what I want you to start thinking about is to write your content, write your stories around connecting these entities. So this is how I want you to think about writing your content, like I write my murder mysteries. So I put my murder mystery together. Everyone was a character in my murder mysteries. Everyone was a character in the plot. And so we had a newspaper that we gave out at the start of the party that was just a sort of generic thing. It's kind of like the front page of your website. What on earth is your business about? Then we had a cast list of all the characters that were in the murder mystery. And that's, I guess, like your sitemap. And then we gave every individual one page of their character and the insights that those characters had. So I guess that's like a page on your website. That's not where the topics all lie, because the characters are where the interesting stuff lies. So the characters had information. So Linda Lovelace had information about the police officer, had information about the vicar, had information about the mafia boss. And that's how I want you to think about stories, and how I want you to think about content on your website. It's not so much the pages that are on your website, it's the way you connect the ideas in the stories together that I think is important. So topic modeling is like having a rounded murder mystery plot. Each subplot has a focus. The focus doesn't necessarily have a web page. It doesn't necessarily have an answer. There is an answer to this subplot, and it may have a web page, or it may have somebody saying this is the answer to this problem. But knowing all the subplots then helps you to solve the murder in the murder mystery. And so I want you to model your topics through entities. So going away from the storytelling for a little bit, I want you to do three things. The first is to look at your website and create a database of entities on your website. What is your business or your client's business already talking about? And you can do it in a sort of fairly dry way. You can go through each page and say, that's talking about that, and that, and that. There are many tools out there that will help you do that. So IBM Watson has a free tool where you can put content into a web page and it'll break it down into the underlying entities on that web page. Google has one, but it's not very good because it's not designed to do what we need, which is find all the entities for all of the topics. It just points out the big ones. You can use a word cloud if you can't do entities. Inlinks, of course, does it as well. Which is my business. So you create a database of all the entities on your website. Then you build your topic planning, your content, by extension of what you're already building, not on how many keywords, how many people are typing in a particular keyword in the world. Because your business is unique to you, or unique to your client. And if you plan your content as extensions of what you're already good at, you're going to go in the right direction. If you suddenly try and become an expert in something that you weren't really an expert in, you're going to come from the wrong direction. So model your content through entities. And the way that you can do this is you can throw your topics that you've come out in your knowledge graph, because that's what the database of ideas is, it's your knowledge graph, into something like Also Asked or Keyword Insights. Will come out with sort of related ideas. What Inlinks does is it throws it into Google Suggest and sees what ideas are suggested as semantically similar ideas to the existing ideas on your business. Then you do have to go through a filtering process, probably, of removing all the suggestions that are semantically distant from your own business, if they're coming out that way. Okay. So then you model your content through entities. Did I put that up there? Okay, so then you group that information together, third part, into clusters, because you want to make sure that you talk enough about a subject in order to cover it and be authoritative in the subject. And that is clustering, topic clustering. So, why is this way different to the other way? Well, this way is different because if you go and have a look at other old school, shall I say, keyword suggestion tools, they were based around things like Google AdWords Planner and volumes of visitors without the context of the business concern. So I took an example. I've taken an output from a keyword suggestion tool, and it shows volumes, and it's something that I used to use an awful lot. And it says, right, okay, we've got team building games, because murder mystery. So team building games for, all these all mention team building games, variations of team building games, and a volume. But when you look at what is happening in real life, if you type in team building games to Google, then two things happen. Does my laser work? It does. The first is, it comes up here and it says, okay, user, you've typed in team building games. That's not enough. That's not enough context. I don't understand quite what you're doing. I'm going to give you a chance, one last chance to get a better sort of categorization. Because without that, it's got all these things. It's saying, right, escape room, office trivia, penny for thought, murder mysteries, These are the ways that Google is trying to cluster things. They're first trying to cluster things by user intent, and then they're clustering by completely different ideas, none of which are mentioning team building games. So Google is clustering it differently. So we need to be able to cluster differently. We need to be able to think of our world and the content that we're working on differently to just coming out with extensions that involve the same word. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. So what we're trying to do with the new approach to content writing, content planning, topic modeling, is to say, right, let's cluster ideas and get them together. So in the context of, this is in the Inlinks tool, in the context of team building games, maybe we need to talk about 10 times. There's about 10 pages that we need to talk about here. And we've broken it down. And luckily, we've got things like talking about kids and youth and Zoom, team building games on Zoom and team building games at work, and the same sorts of ideas that Google is trying to use to try and help understand user intent and the user audience and what they're looking for. And by creating your content around topics in this way and clusters in this way, you're not going to come up with the same kind of way of writing things as a dry site like this. Of course, your products are going to be listed in this kind of way. But if you try and write content in this kind of way, you've got a problem, because we're human and we like content that comes like this. We like stories. We like to listen in stories. We don't like to be told these are the dry things about a screwdriver or a drill. We want a story about what those things do. The search engines keep on telling us to help answer people's problems. And you do that by writing stories. So instead of worrying too much about your structure of your product pages, for example, what I want you to do is say, okay, I'm going to write about rehanging a door for this website, for example. And so I can talk about drills and the best drill for the job. I can talk about masonry holes. I can talk about raw plugs. And I can talk about drill bits. And it becomes obvious that I'm an expert in which drill to use as a result of that. But I've got a story that is answering a problem for a user. And as the search engines will go through, you can see that when it comes to choosing a drill, these guys know their stuff. They know why you're going to do that. So it's esoteric, but the takeaway is not abstract. If you are not the kind of person that likes to work visually, then here it is in black and white, okay? This is what I've been trying to say. Cluster your topics as an extension of your current business, and don't do it just based on keyword volumes. Keyword volumes play a part, but way further down in the decision-making process. Do not start with key volumes as your reason for reading. Make the topics answer questions and solve problems. And then you've got to define pillar pages for a topic and subpages for a topic. So I hope there's nothing in there that involves wearing a white hat and braces. Pillar pages, by the way, are about topics that are most important to your business. And if a subject has enough volume, then yes, create a new page. Enough becomes a philosophical question that we can talk about over a beer. But if you haven't got enough, then just make that information a subtopic of something else. A few more things in there, but I've got 1 minute left. So I want to just finish with this. If you want color in your content, make sure that the big terms at the top, the ones that you really want to be, well known for, have authority in their roots. Okay. In other words, get the base things right. So, if you would like a knowledge graph of your own website, please email talk@dixonjones.com with the name of the website, and I'll send something through to you. I am, because of my midlife crisis, going to New Zealand for 6 weeks and turning 60 next month. So do it this week, please, because I won't have time afterwards. And then hopefully you'll be able to get some colour inside your content. Thank you very much for your time.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.